There's an eerie silence in the stadium as a 17-year-old boy is pushed onto the playing field in a squeaky wheelchair. His mother, among a crowd of about 10,000 people, is holding back tears. With his mouth gagged, he wriggles around in the chair, just as 3 soldiers point their machine guns at him. 9 shots are fired. His chest explodes. There's a collective gasp in the crowd, then silence, followed by frantic, rapturous clapping that lasts 10 whole minutes. Can you imagine being in that crowd? Being the parent of the victim, a spectator expected to clap. Sounds crazy, but this is life in North Korea. So, what had this young man done to deserve 9 bullets in the chest? The answer is K-pop. Yeah, South Korean pop music. We know it's criminally bad, but come on, being a fan shouldn't warrant an execution. The supreme leader, Kim Jong-un, doesn't like K-pop. He hates it, in fact. He says it's evil. He also believes that South Korean soap operas and American pop music corrupt North Korea's youths. And he hates foreign pop music and foreign dramas because they show North Koreans a reality they're not allowed to see. In 2021, it was reported that Kim Jong-un had lost the plot where this was concerned. That year, he pushed into law new rules about what content people could and could not watch. Pretty much meant they were allowed to watch North Korean propaganda and nothing else. It meant that dancing to the music of Girls' Generation or watching an episode of The World of the Married could get you killed. We aren't exaggerating. Some teenagers were recently executed for just watching Squid Game. It was revealed by activists that foreign content had been coming into North Korea via the town of Haisan, which is an important trading hub with China. The problem with this proximity is tons of illegal content was getting across the border, as were such things as mobile phones. North Korean security services got busy hunting this content down. When they found it, often on teenagers, the kids were sometimes executed, sometimes in front of their classmates, sometimes in front of their parents in stadiums, as you just heard. So, crazy law number 1, death for listening to pop music and watching silly dramas. The regime calls them anti-socialist and non-socialist. They're really strict about it these days. A North Korean NGO said in 2019 that it had discovered 318 execution sites in North Korea. People were shot down in public schools, stadiums, markets, and rice fields, with the crime being anything from watching a foreign soap opera to stealing someone's cow. A defector said that when he was in a prison camp in the 2000s, he and about 80 other inmates were forced to watch 3 women being executed. They'd been charged with having ideas about running off to China. So one law in North Korea could be said to be the first rule about North Korea is you do not talk about North Korea. Not to anyone else anyway. We explain later what happens if you have the audacity to make an international phone call. The executions are almost always by firing squad, although there has been the odd hanging now and again. Usually the victims are lined up. 3 soldiers do the shooting, firing off 3 rounds. One defector said he'd seen it happen. He noted that the soldiers were upset about it. He said they were drunk. Maybe they can only go through with it after some booze. As you know, the regime hates the outside world, or rather they fear the outside world. That means anything associated with the outside is treated like a virus that could spread easily within their perfect society. This is why schoolgirls have been sent to do hard time in mines in the countryside just because they tried to sound like South Koreans when they sang. Kim Jong-un has said that anyone mimicking South Korean accents can expect to be packed off to those mines where they might never return. Same goes for haircuts. Under no circumstances should North Koreans try and copy the hairstyles of the West or the rest of Asia. You might not have noticed it when watching videos, but everyone seems to have the exact same haircut. Boys, girls, women, and men. You can see photos of good-looking women walking down the street, perhaps chatting on their local call-only mobile phones, and it seems as though they've all been reading the same fashion magazine. It's got nothing to do with personal choice. They have to look that way because if one of them decides to branch out and look like Ariana Grande, they might end up in the mines. Same goes for the men. That regime has approved just 28 hairstyles, but none of them are what you might call risque. Men are told they should keep their hair short, but never totally shaved. If it gets longer than 5 centimeters, almost 2 inches, it's time for a cut. Flat tops, a North Korean favorite, are recommended. Women can grow their hair into a bob, but not very long. And no way can they have it really short. That would look too manly, too rebellious. There was actually a TV show in North Korea called Let's Trim Our Hair in Accordance with the Socialist Lifestyle. The show told the folks why they should follow hairstyle rules. Goes without saying that they don't want people to have any sort of individuality. As the saying goes, if a nail sticks out, hammer it down. It's actually a Japanese expression and not too important now in that country, but in North Korea, it influences every part of society. Spiky hair, green hair, or messy hair does not adhere to socialist values, said the TV show. In one episode in 2005, a guy was dragged off the streets. His hair was all over the place. The TV presenter said to the people watching, "We cannot help questioning the cultural taste of this comrade, who is incapable of feeling ashamed of his hairstyle." Can we expect a man with this disheveled mindset to perform his duty well? There is only one answer, of course. Still, an unsocialist hairdo won't get someone hard labor. Instead, when CCTV found such people with their itinerant hair, they were publicly shamed. They were reported at work and were ostracized by their colleagues. The viewers heard some scientific facts too, North Korean style. The presenter said long hair affects human intelligence development because it consumes a great deal of nutrition. If you have no access to decent books or the internet, how would you ever be able to refute that? It's the same with clothes. People won't get the machine gun treatment for wearing the wrong kind of clothes, but they will be accused of having a bad ideological and mental state. Once that gets back to their boss, they'll be snubbed by their colleagues. The newspapers might make a meal of it, bringing on more shame. A regime newspaper called Nodong Sinmun wrote that people's clothes show their cultural standards and mental and moral state. It explained no matter how good the clothes, if one does not wear tidy shoes, one's personality will be downgraded. We should say that there's a big difference between being a bit untidy to showing everyone you are totally into a Western or South Korean style. One could be blamed on laziness or unkemptness, but Western fashion following is sedition. One is harmless, the other is exceedingly dangerous. Human Rights Watch wrote in 2021 that a North Korean might be executed or sent to a prison camp, Kaewaso, for 15 years just for watching one episode of a South Korean soap opera. It also said that the new rules dictated that merely uttering a few words of South Korean, even just to practice, can result in 2 years of hard labor. There are reports of kids texting each other and using some words of South Korean slang. The sentence for that was 3 months of hard labor. In a letter to the 10th Congress of Youth League in 2021, Kim Jong-un explained why he was coming down on people so hard. It was a long letter, so we'll just show you a few snippets translated into English. It starts off positively, saying, "The faithful millions of young people have always been a fortress for our party, which is leading the revolution to a great leap, braving the worst ever challenges. These kids," he said, "should be at war against the capitalists. He said they should dress smart, speak well, and learn revolutionary songs. He said some do that, but others have been transformed by the malignant tumors of an anti-socialist idea coming from foreign lands. He was executing folks for listening to K-pop because they were bringing in dangerous poisons of outside influence." As we showed you in the intro, when the leader makes a speech like that, you're expected to clap like crazy, and we mean clap until your hands hurt. People have been executed in the past for not clapping enough, for looking like they didn't care about the immortal speaker on the podium. This is nothing new. It happened in the Soviet Union under Stalin, but you can imagine what would happen if you fell asleep when the leader was speaking, just as happens all the time in the West. Napping in British Parliament is the norm. There's no official law for this in North Korea, but they can easily accuse someone of being seditious or at least unpatriotic. It happened to the former defense minister, Hyun Yong-chol, who was usually a top-notch clapper. The state gunned him down in 2015. Some people said the reason was he was caught napping while Kim Jong-un was speaking, but the real reason was likely that he'd just gotten on the wrong side of the leader. No official reason was given in the end, but Kim must have really hated him because this time the firing squad used an anti-aircraft gun. It happened in front of hundreds of people at Pyongyang's Kangkon military shooting range. So that's another rule, or at least an unwritten rule: clap when you have to, and don't be the first to stop. When the big man is talking, don't you dare think you can catch 50 winks. This is serious. Hundreds of officials in the past have been executed when it was thought that they were becoming slightly rebellious by not paying attention when they should. This next bit of information sounds so crazy you'd think it was Western propaganda. You already know you have to respect the supreme leader at all costs. In 2020, it seemed a woman living in Onsong County near China let that respect lapse for a few minutes when her house caught fire and her kids were stuck inside. As the flames tickled the sky, she rushed into the house to collect her screaming kids. She should have been celebrated for her bravery, but she was arrested. Guess why? The reason is, like in every North Korean household, there were portraits on the wall of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il. Their rotund faces lit on fire as the woman concentrated on making sure her kids got to see puberty. The news somehow got back to the Ministry of State Security, likely through a snitching neighbor. The case was investigated and it was said that a political crime might have occurred because she rescued her children and not the portraits. What's even more ridiculous is a farmer had rushed in to save the portraits, and while the woman was condemned in the media, he was hailed as a national hero. What's even more annoying is that the woman was jailed during the investigation, which meant that she couldn't tend to her hospitalized kids, who both had serious burns. The Daily NK, a South Korean newspaper writing about everything North Korea, said that some neighbors wanted to help the mother buy the antibiotics her kids needed, but they were too scared as they thought they might be charged with political crimes. A source told the paper the mother will be able to focus on caring for her children once the authorities end their investigation. The supreme leader is kind of a divinity, which is why myths abound, such as the ground cracking apart and lightning striking when the last leader popped his clogs. It's said that he once hit 38 under par in 18 holes, the first time he ever played golf. The official state document said on the 7,700-yard championship course at Pyongyang, he hit 11 holes in one that day. Not too bad for a 52-year-old and 5'3" in height on a course that most professionals would struggle to make par. Only a god could perform such a miraculous feat of sporting triumph. This is why in North Korea, if you mention the word Jesus or Buddha, you're in for one hell of a bad time. The country is not big enough for two gods. Only the Kims perform miracles. Gods have nothing on them. In 2014, an American named Jeffrey Fowle made the mistake of his life when he thought it was a good idea to visit North Korea while embracing the Christian tradition of spreading the word of God. This was about as prudent as taking a bath while holding a plugged-in TV. It's one thing keeping your God theories to yourself in North Korea, but this guy went into a restaurant called the Chongjin Sailors Club, and on purpose he left a Bible in the restroom hoping someone would pick it up and later choose Jesus as their savior. Fowle was arrested and imprisoned. He appeared on TV later telling the folks back home he'd been treated well. They always say that. You'll know why soon. After 5 months, the North Koreans sent him back home, but with a warning. Keep your God in the USA. We don't want him here. He's persona non grata. Had Fowle not been used as a diplomatic bargaining chip, he'd likely have been executed or at least spent a few years doing hard labor. Around that same time, the American-Korean Kenneth Bae, an evangelical preacher, was sentenced to 15 years hard labor, also for spreading the good word. He surprised everyone when he told the West that his prison camp wasn't actually that bad. In an interview from North Korea, he said, "Yes, people here are very considerate, but my health is not in the best condition, so there are some difficulties. But everyone here is considerate and generous. We have doctors here, so I'm getting regular checkups." Still in 2015, North Korea executed 6 North Korean people who'd been spreading the word of God. In 2011, a man named Kwang Eun-som and her granddaughter were blasted away by a firing squad in Osong County. Their crime was loving the Christian God and telling others how great he was. You can't even practice superstitious stuff in North Korea. Shamans have been executed, as have fortune tellers. Lots and lots of fortune tellers. You can give $20 to the same people in the US and they'll tell you one day you'll meet an important person named Gary, or was it Graham? It begins with G anyway. Perhaps that's exploitation, but it's hardly a crime. In 2017, it was reported that a 20-something-year-old North Korean woman had been telling folks about their life down the line, and she was later executed by firing squad in Chongjin. A news report at the time talked about how other fortune tellers had been arrested. It said one fortune teller, known as Hui Son, was sentenced to 18 years hard labor in Onsong. While in Horyong, 6 fortune tellers remain under investigation by local police with rumors that they may also face execution. In 2019, the news said 2 young fortune tellers were executed by firing squad in front of tens of thousands of people, factory workers, students, and office workers, at a location in Hamgyong's Chongjin City. Another person got life in prison labor camps because they'd been accused of superstitious activities. In another case, the condemned fortune teller had used a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, saying they were possessed and so they could see into the future. The media reported that people were starving and desperate, so they looked to anyone who could help, even a scammer who allegedly talked to ghosts. Each one of the fortune tellers was accused of anti-socialist behavior, which affected the preservation of social order. Now, you might wonder what happens if North Koreans get on the phone with South Koreans and are told that their lives are actually terrible and that they live in a place of sheer madness where their brains are washed as often as their hands. If that happens and the person is caught, they'll likely die. Many North Koreans have been executed for the crime of talking on the phone to someone outside the country. As we explained in another show, North Korea runs a tight ship where the truth is concerned. Just one phone call to someone outside will likely get you executed, regardless of what's said. Remember the first rule of North Korea Club. In 2007, a South Pyongan province factory chief was executed for this crime in front of 150,000 people at a local stadium. The giant lid on North Korea's can of worms was to remain closed. It does, for the most part, which is why most people go along with stories of their leaders attaining golf scores that would make Tiger Woods envious. But just a quick phone call to the South can undo such ridiculous lies. Another thing you're not supposed to do in North Korea is look at pornographic material. North Koreans might be living in a never world, but their brains work the same as everyone else where sex is concerned. Like many of you guys and gals, they're suckers for images and videos of naked bodies getting down with a bit of coitus. It's said that while North Koreans might not have access to porn websites and hustler-type magazines, people still share illegal videos of women dancing while wearing not so many clothes. The possession, distribution, and production of this kind of thing can lead to many years in prison and even death. News stories in 2021 told us about how a teenage boy caught watching porn got in big trouble. The stories don't explain how he was caught, but it said when his parents were away at the house in North Pyongan province, the kid put on a video and indulged in the age-old tradition of the five-knuckle shuffle. This was said to be anti-socialist behavior. Truth is, it tore at the threads of North Korea's tapestry of lies. Foreign porn exposes a different life, even if it's just as terrible actors picking up horny svelte hitchhikers. As per Article 29 of the law, the 15-year-old kid was sent to a labor camp. His parents and even his high school principal were also sent to the labor camp. More and more pornographic videos or smutty content on USBs have been making their way across the border from China of late. Kim Jong-un says this is a threat to society and has cracked down on such behavior. Even worse, some folks have had the gall to make porn in North Korea. Defectors smuggled one video titled "The Secret Story of the Republic" out of North Korea not so long ago. Although the film isn't available online. We tried to find it, for research purposes, of course. Kids have apparently been getting their hands on sexy CDs and renting them out in school, with reports saying such CDs were going for about $80 in the past. That's a lot in North Korea. More recently, people have smuggled content on Chinese phones, and with those, they can watch homegrown Chinese stuff online. The North Korean regime, as much as they hate it, seems to understand how natural it is, so usually if someone's caught with just North Korean smut, they might get 2 to 5 years in the labor camps. The problem is when the porn is foreign, which means opening up that can of worms. As you know, people get executed for watching South Korean dramas, so American or Japanese hardcore is a big no-no. As Article 194 of the Conduct of Decadent Act says, a person who watches or listens to music, dance, drawings, photos, books, video recordings, or electronic media that reflects decadent, carnal, or foul contents, or who performs such acts himself or herself, shall be punished by short-term labor for less than 2 years. In cases where the person commits a grave offense, he or she shall be punished by reform through labor for less than 5 years. This doesn't count for the regime's top officials. It seems those guys can beat their meat to the heart's content, or at least that's what some researchers said in 2017. They said deep within the highest offices at Pyongyang, top officials watched American porn sites, such as Pornhub. Those same guys were even going on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, maybe even befriending some of you guys watching this video. As for if someone in North Korea likes people of the same sex, well, that's actually not illegal. But it seems most people don't even have a concept of homosexuality, even if they feel it in every inch of their bones. In 2015, a guy named Ju Sung-ha, who had defected from North Korea after studying at its best university, told the New York Times about homosexuality, "In my university, only half the students may have heard of the word. Even then, it was always treated as some strange, vague mental illness affecting subhumans, only found in the depraved West." Also in the Times, another guy said, "I was too embarrassed to confess that I came here because I felt no sexual attraction to my wife. I couldn't explain what it was that bothered me so much, made my life so miserable in North Korea, because I didn't know until after I arrived here that I was gay, or even what homosexuality was." So while there is no law that outright bans homosexuality, coming out would certainly be taboo, and we imagine might raise a few eyebrows. Article 193 talks about decadent behavior, and it's speculated that a gay person could be charged with this, but it's hard to say. In totalitarian societies, laws are deliberately very vague. A gay defector named Jang Yong-jin said after he jumped the fence, he experienced more discrimination in conservative South Korea. Still, since homosexuality isn't even talked about in the North, it's unlikely there will be discrimination. Even the little things can get a person in trouble. Households are expected to be clean and tidy, and people are absolutely expected to have pictures of their leaders on the wall, past and present. In some societies in the world that aren't even totalitarian but are authoritarian, pretty much every household has a picture on the wall of some ruler or monarch. Thailand was like this until the last king died, and people there still will argue with you until they're blue in the face that this was out of love and respect rather than a consequence of propaganda instilled in them since they were just children. Reports say that portraits of leaders in North Korea have to be hung high, so they look down on the occupants of the house. The police do inspections now and again to ensure families follow the rule. If the pictures aren't there, or if they're dirty or hung in the wrong place, the adults in the house can expect punishment. An investigation into their habits and opinions will try to ascertain if they're either bad socialists or just rubbish at looking after pictures. It's likely that if they're charged with something, they'll do some time in the mine, or perhaps just have to do the walk of shame at work. The security services will, of course, interview the kids to ensure the parents have been routinely filling their brains with the right thoughts. This must be a nerve-wracking time for the parents whose 4-year-old might blurt something that sends mommy and daddy to an early grave. It could be something innocent, such as, "Mommy said Kim a bad man with dumpling face." This kind of thing would seriously affect the family's songbun, social status ranking. Westerners don't often feel the wrath of the regime for acting or speaking out of line, but sometimes they do. Merrill Newman, an 85-year-old guy from California, made the mistake in 2013 of telling his North Korean tour guide that he'd fought on the wrong side in the Korean War. This was enough to get him arrested and later appear on CNN confessing his crime.
On this trip, I can understand that in U.S. and Western countries, there is misleading information and propaganda about DPRK.
He later said that he purposefully used awful grammar in that video so the folks back home would know he'd been forced to say those things. That's why everyone always says things are hunky-dory when they appear on the TV. They have to. Many tourists will tell you that North Korea is okay. The people are friendly, and all the talk of danger is overblown. But that only remains true if you don't break the rules. You can soon be called a hostile, though admittedly you'd have to be stupid or willfully ignorant to break those rules. They're pretty obvious. This doesn't mean that the locals will hate you, even if you come from so-called imperialist America. One American returned from a trip and said to the press, "I told them I was American and they were pretty interested and were asking me questions. They didn't seem to be intimidated by America or have any hatred toward America," which was reassuring. Still, break the law there, it's at your own risk. You might not see a firing squad like a local, but you might be sent back to the US looking rather under the weather. Now you need to watch the sister show to this one, North Korea's Crazy Internet Rules, or have a look at what actually happened to an American student in North Korean prison.